Canopy Growth rallying today following earnings before the bell. The company posted a smaller than expected loss for the quarter and announced it expects to become profitable in the second half of 2022 fiscal year. Joining us now in a first on CNBC interview, Canopy Growth CEO David Klein. David, very good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, thanks for having me. So clearly the stock's reacting well to your earnings, and this, of course, comes after the stock was already up over 100%. The prior 12 months, so that the earnings setup was tough and you beat it. Talk us through the headline on the numbers and where you think you particularly outperformed.
Yeah, I think it was a great quarter for our company in that we had a record revenue quarter. We gained share in our core market of Canada. And we also benefited from growth in the U.S. On our CBD business, led by our Martha Stewart brand of edibles, which, after just being launched in September, is now one of the top-selling CBD brands in the U.S. And this comes at the end of a year that we called a transition year. So it's nice to be through that transition and be in a position to be able to meet the very large opportunity in front of us and be profitable.
Martha, as you know, I think joined us recently to talk about that. Maybe we'll get to that product line in just a moment. But bigger picture, first of all, David, which I think really leads into the performance coming into earnings. How much of a change is it to see a president in the White House who is ultimately supportive in some way of reform of cannabis legislation? Or is it not, in fact, as much as a game changer as perhaps a share price move would suggest, and that this is still really a state-based decision-making process?
No, I think that the game is really about winning in the U.S. in aggregate, and we will be able to come to the U.S. When we get the right combination of legislation and executive action. So having a Democrat-controlled Senate, a Democrat-controlled House, and the White House in Democrats' hands is valuable to us. The other point, though, that I might make is that this isn't necessarily a Republican versus Democrat issue, because a majority of Americans in both parties support legalization of cannabis over time.
So what's your play for the U.S., David? How have you pivoted and rethought the strategy, given the fact that we are, and it really has been a blue and red issue, at least in the United States Senate, but it looks like the Democrats have control. So have you changed the strategy?
Yeah, we really have three things going for us right now. We have a play with multi-state operators. So we have an arrangement that's already in place where, upon federal permissibility, we'll own 70% of acreage, which is one of those multi-state operators. We also have an ownership stake in another multi-state operator that springs upon permissibility in the U.S. That's a multi-state operator called TerrAscend. So we have the THC play somewhat underway, and in fact, Acreage is bringing our drinks brands to the U.S. this coming summer, and they already sell our Tweed branded flower. Now, the second kind of component of our U.S. play is being able to establish supply chain infrastructure and routes to market with brands like Martha Stewart CBD or our sports nutrition brand BioSteel. And then the last component is we're continuing to build the infrastructure at Canopy as a typical stock standard, almost CPG company with capabilities around supply chain, brand building, innovation, insights, either with capabilities we've built or with our partner, the alcohol giant Constellation Brands.
One question I wanted to ask, David, which I guess is one of the outstanding risks for the industry as a whole, is if things go too far too soon and overstep the mark in terms of people potentially abusing or misusing the legalization. And with that in mind, wanted to ask about Martha Stewart's line, and in particular the fact, we touched on it with her a little bit, of going into pet products. To what extent does that start to be a little bit of a sort of self-medication by owners of dogs without veterinary approval for a product that, quite clearly you would never give a dog alcohol? You would never give a child a CBD product without a doctor's approval. Do we get into a bit of a grey area there?
I think not as it relates to CBD. I think that THC, of course, is the psychoactive substance in cannabis. CBD, we've been able to show can be safely used in pets. We've been studying this for years, and it helps pets with pain, some pain reduction, as well as decreasing level of anxiety. I think, and Martha's a great example of this, even with the human CBD products. I think that where we're headed is a continuation of the wellness journey that started with physical wellness, maybe back in the 70s with people exercising and eating well. I think we're now coming into a place where people want to be able to manage their emotional state in their mental state a little bit more than we have in the past. And I believe there are ways to safely do that with cannabis and various cannabinoids.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.